5 a.m. Here we go again. Another day and I'm right back in. I'm gonna lose if I hit the snooze, cause I know it keeps on.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is Travis from Chasing Anthems coming at you guys with another reaction video. Today's going to be a little bit different one. I stumbled across this video all about Motley Crue and accusations that have been made about this legendary band. And so I wanted to watch it with you guys and react in real time. Shout out to Heavy's channel who put this compilation together with a bunch of different clips and some speculation that's been online about the infamous Motley Crue. Now, I know a lot of this has come to fruition as their longtime guitarist, Mars, moved on due to health reasons, and, things have just been coming into question as the band continues to get older, and but it's still touring, is actively out there doing their thing. Now they got John 5 on the guitar, which is pretty interesting, since that dude is a legend in his own right. But we're going to check out this together, and let's just see what we find out today. With that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. If you guys are new to the channel, you know what to do. Please consider subscribing, hit the bell to be notified of future videos, like, comment, share, do all that kind of good stuff. And then go check out some original stuff. We got links below. Got our brand new single, 5 a.m. Came out not that long ago. We got a brand new music video. I would love for you guys to check it out. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Like it, love it, hate it, or think differently about it. I don't care. I want to know what you have to think. And yeah, anyways, let's get started with this video.
Motley Crue is one of the most popular metal bands of all time. Their 2022 stadium tour earned a record-breaking $173.4 million, the best-selling tour of the band's 40-plus year career. However, the band is in the middle of a major scandal. Their guitarist Mick Mars has sued them and claimed under oath that Motley Crue uses pre-recorded tracks during concerts, essentially faking their playing. The use of pre-recorded tracks is a cardinal sin for rock and metal fans, and this scandal has led to some major backlash towards Motley Crue, but instead of folding to the pressure, they are benefiting from the publicity for their upcoming world tour.
Interesting. So this is a controversy, and it's something actually our band has actually entertained to a certain degree, is do you use backing tracks? Do you not use backing tracks? Now, one of the major benefits of using backing tracks is you can add more elements to a live show without having to bring additional players. Another benefit is you have to be extremely rehearsed. Now, I'm not saying backing everything, replacing it with backing tracks, but adding additional elements in, like violins, cellos, different things that, you could add to it that maybe you were the guitarist, wrote multiple parts with different instruments, or maybe even synthesizers, things like that, but you can't get someone to go on tour with you. You might have to use a backing track. Another great benefit to it is also the timing. I know a lot of bands will play to a click track, meaning that in their ears they're hearing that metronome going. It keeps them on pace. If you have backing tracks, you have to be in sync with that perfectly, otherwise you were gonna blow it miserably. So there's a lot of schools of thought, but I would generally agree that, yeah, rock and roll, you don't hear many bands openly doing this type of thing. But I also understand at the same time the desire, especially if you can't get the crews to tour with you to perform live the same way you recorded it. So plus and minus.
The band sells tickets for up to $2,500, and it's working. So this begs the question: I
think $2,000 regardless, backing track, no backing track, what level you're at, is absolutely insane. I wouldn't pay that money to see any band. Just my opinion.
Motley Crue actually using pre-recorded tracks? Well, it's complicated. Several fan-filmed videos of the band have circulated in recent years, where the sound coming out of the speakers doesn't match up with the actual performance. One recent high-profile incident occurred on July 19th, 2022, at the Kansas City date of Motley Crue's stadium tour. In the video, you can hear the sound of a cymbal despite the fact that drummer Tommy Lee hasn't made it to his drum set. In other words, the drums are heard playing while no one is there to play them.
Right there. Yeah, that's a tough one for me. I mean, I've talked about on this channel a lot, is that I actually prefer listening to live bands over listening to their studio, because I like to hear the imperfections. I like to hear the human aspect of it. Otherwise, I mean, you could get probably AI to do a lot of the stuff nowadays, or have it so perfected in the studio. You get a million different takes, unlimited amount of takes to get it perfect. But live, it's a different aspect. It's a different element. That's why you would pay $40, $50 to go see somebody live versus buying their album that you can just loop on repeat for, you know, nowadays you stream it for free or whatever your monthly service is. But even back in the day when you're buying a CD for $20, you know, you could listen to it as much as you want, the perfect version of it. I want to hear it live, and I want to see the human aspect, because I want to see, could I do that one day, right? So that is problematic to me for sure.
It is unclear how much of Lee's drumming is performed live and what parts are mimed during shows. Fans have engaged in heated debates in the comment section, with some proclaiming that almost all of Lee's drumming is fake, while others argue that only a few key triggers are used to keep time with all the fireworks and other onstage spectacles that Motley Crue is famous for. Mars would reference this exact video on page 10 of his lawsuit, where he would then go on to claim under penalty of perjury that a significant portion of singer Vince Neil's vocals were also pre-recorded. But if that were true, then why does Vince Neil sound so awful on stage?
Ooh,
for decades, Neil has been harshly criticized for his inability to sing like he used to. The once legendary frontman can often be heard struggling for breath, singing out of tune, or relying on the audience to sing for him. Some of his detractors, like
Interesting. I could see backing tracks for harmonies and like to fill in space, but yeah, that I think it's super critical for the lead singer, especially to have a live clean feed. It's what elevates them from a good band to a great band, in my opinion. Especially, you know, even though I'm not into the pop space and everything like that, but those guys that are running around dancing, doing all sorts of stuff on stage, and in rock bands as well. And then to be able to hit those crystal clear high notes all over the place is amazing, right? And that's what, you know, you look up to, is the greatness of those bands. At least that's our expectation, especially when you're paying a lot of money and you're traveling to go see these guys. But yeah.
Wrestler turned rock singer Chris Jericho have pointed at Neil's poor physical shape as the reason for his declining singing abilities, suggesting that his vocals would improve if he just lost some weight and did some training. As more and more videos of Neil's embarrassing vocal performances made the rounds on YouTube, Motley Crue's manager Alan Kovac would even have to step in to address the criticisms, assuring fans that the band members had been working with personal trainers and nutritionists ahead of the stadium tour in order to put on the best performances possible. Still, as recently as 2023, Crue fans have continued to criticize the band for only becoming more blatant in their use of lip syncing. This footage from a recent concert in Peru makes it glaringly obvious that Vince Neil is heavily relying on pre-recorded tracks. However, no one bore the...
I don't know. I think that might have been the harmony portion per se, but still, it makes it more obvious, and especially if you're coming out and saying we don't do it, and then you have clips like this saying you do it. I would prefer if they just explained the use of their backing tracks versus denying it wholeheartedly and saying we don't do it. I think that just makes it worse.
Of Mick's anger more than bassist Nikki Sixx. Mars accused Sixx of attempting to psychologically manipulate him into believing he had some sort of cognitive dysfunction, and that his guitar playing was no longer good enough for Motley Crue, often getting frustrated with Mars for supposedly forgetting chords or playing the wrong songs. The guitarist, who is a 25% shareholder in Motley Crue's corporate entity, claims that this was all part of an elaborate plot concocted by Sixx in order to force him out of the band and take his shares. When his debilitating health issues eventually forced Mars to retire from touring in 2022, it is alleged that Motley Crue made him a quote, take it or leave it offer for a severance agreement that would divest him of 20% of his ownership stake in the band. Mars says it was Nikki Sixx who told him that, after 41 consecutive years with the band, he was lucky to keep even 5% ownership and did not deserve anything more going forward.
What do you guys think about that? Band together for 40-something years. The legacy is something that all four of them have created together. Very unique that many bands have been together that long and then create that volume of work. What do you guys think about a 20% drop? I mean, to keep an equal share, at least on future products and touring, I could see the potential issue there. but a 20% drop in any future revenue based on things that were previously created. Maybe there's more details to it that we just don't know, but that does seem a little harsh in my opinion.
Mars went on to blast Six in legal documents for faking his performances, stating that 100% of Six's bass parts were nothing but recordings. Six was seen fist-pumping in the air with his strumming hand while the bass part was playing, an incident that was captured on video. However,
I'll be honest with you, Six does not impress me by any means as a bass player. Blast me in the comments if you disagree, but I've yet to see anything from him that's been that impressive. Tommy, I have seen him live, and I do think that he has some skills on drums, not relative to a lot of these young guys out there today, or even older guys out there today. I think he's impressive style-wise, but Six, I've never been a huge fan personally, but that's just one man's opinion.
this would not be the first time that Six had been confronted over his use of backing tracks in his career, with Six often using extremely vague language to evade the accusations. One such occasion occurred in 1997 when Metallica drummer Lars Ulrich denounced Motley Crue for performing to a tape at the American Music Awards that year, which by all accounts they did. Although it is now widely accepted that televised musical performances have to be faked due to time constraints, Six still took offense to Ulrich's accusations and posted an open letter to the Metallica drummer on an AOL message board, which read, "Dear sweet fat balding Lars, love the makeup babe. Taking your ever moronic soapbox position on a subject that's none of your business has made you out to be an a-hole as usual. You're such a poser." Despite Nicky's rage towards Ulrich's accusations, he notably did not deny the use of backing tracks within his response. Six was similarly evasive in 2023 when legendary drummer Carmine Appice revealed to Ultimate Guitar that Mars confided in him about how he was having a bad time on the stadium tour, due in large part to the fact that everything was pre-recorded instead of live. Nikki Sixx would fire back on Twitter, but instead of addressing the allegations that Motley Crue was lip-syncing, he chose to hurl insults at Appice, calling him a washed-up drummer.
Interesting. Now, I just don't understand. You would go to such great lengths, you're making such great revenue, that you would use a backing track versus having a live performance. I mean, it almost to me seems like you might as well have a backup band and just be the front guys and have your guitars turned down. At least it would be a live element. I don't see the benefit or the reasoning as to why you wouldn't play live unless you just don't have the chops anymore, but you're still trying to sell and repackage a thing of the past. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Like, it baffles me. It's not like, especially Nikki Sixx's bass lines are complicated by any means. It's simple riffs. Mick Mars, on the other hand, there's a lot more complex riffs per se. I don't think he's the greatest solo artist by any means, but if anyone's doing the heavy lifting, I would say it would be the vocalist, and we've already clearly seen that, you know, his vocals are live for the most part. They're just not as great as they possibly used to be. So anyway, it kind of baffles me. I don't really understand per se, but maybe someone in the comments can let me know.
It's worth noting, however, that Sixx did acknowledge Motley Crue's use of backing tracks on one occasion in 2019, though he only admitted to using it for instruments that the band doesn't tour with, such as cellos or synthesizers. Yep. To date, the only member of Motley Crue to directly address the core band members' use of backing tracks was, unsurprisingly, Mick Mars. While discussing the creation of his solo album during a 2014 interview with Eddie Trunk, Mars casually mentioned that he was a terrible singer, unintentionally provoking a series of loaded questions from Trunk.
Or you just...
Dude, my voice sucks so bad.
Well, they put a microphone in front of you on stage with Motley. I don't know if it's on or not, but there's one up there.
Well, you know, that's a whole nother story right there, son.
What story? Tell me that story. What is it?
That story? I don't know. That could get me in a lot of trouble.
Mars was noticeably on edge, tripping over his words and attempting to move away from the subject. However, as the conversation continued, Mars candidly spoke on his band's use of backing tracks, saying that he didn't like it, and that he believed that a band like Motley Crue benefits from the rawness of a live performance where mistakes can be made in front of an audience.
Yep,
so assuming Motley
100%.
Crue are in fact faking their performances, why hasn't there been more backlash from fans? Well, fans can be extremely forgiving to an artist that they love, and historically have proven to be unbothered about about lip syncing. For example, despite the general belief that R&B duo Milli Vanilli had their careers immediately ruined following a July 1989 incident where their backing track failed during a live performance, in reality, their core audience didn't seem to care. In fact, Milli Vanilli went on to become a global sensation, reportedly grossing over $50 million and even being awarded a Grammy for Best New Artist, even as the lip-syncing allegations continued. The value these accusations...
Yeah, ironically about that, one committed suicide, but they were actually pretty talented singers, but that was the whole, like, the music industrial complex, right? That was pushing a lot of that stuff. And it'd be interesting to see, especially a mega band like Motley Crue, how much of this is really being pushed by the label and management versus the actual band. You know, that would be, if any light comes to this, or any truth actually comes to, you know, these allegations, it would be interesting to get to the bottom of, like, whose idea was, who was really pushing the need for perfection on stage. You could see a million clips, not to say like other bands like Guns N' Roses are innocent per se, but there's a ton out there where Slash boshes solos. You know, Chili Peppers, you can definitely tell are live. Anthony's vocals are not perfect on stage, and they typically start each song with a jam session anyways, which demonstrates that they're actually performing live. But, you know, what is the push to make this mega rock band sound perfection? Probably the labels. That's probably where it came down to, similar to Milli Vanilli.
Motley Crue, who were getting millions of impressions on metal news websites and YouTubers making countless videos calling them out, are all free advertising for the band. Keeping the band at the forefront of the music news cycle, even with the negative connotations, is generally good for them. However, if Motley Crue's upcoming tour dates are going to be entirely faked, then the group is not living up to its core values that brought them together in the first place. In the band's first ever press release from June 22nd, 1981, Motley Crue highlighted their mission to, quote, provide an outstanding live show which excites, stimulates, and moves the audience. Despite their...
Yeah, but a lot changes in 42 years, you know. Once money comes into play and you're backed by labels and people that also have vested interest in you, you change your core values pretty quick.
Tarnished reputation, Motley Crue concerts continue to sell out, and the success of rock and metal as a whole is reliant on legacy bands now more than ever. It's not unusual for the best-selling metal albums any given year to be 30-plus-year-old records rather than new releases, and rock festivals in particular routinely book the same handful of legacy bands for their headlining slots, often recycling headliners year after year. Many critics say that this unending focus on nostalgia is holding the genre back, but in a post-2020 world where the cost of touring is at an all-time high, promoters can't afford to take any chances. Motley Crue is still entitled to their day in court and will presumably one day have the opportunity to tell their side of the story. For the time being, it is up to fans to voice their opinions by voting with their wallets, and Motley Crue has only grown to become more lucrative than they've ever been.
Interesting. Yeah, I think as it goes on, I'm curious to hear what you have to think about it, but I think it comes down to the machine. It comes down to labels. Labels are losing more and more control and power, especially thanks to YouTube, to TikTok, to Instagram, for, you know, musicians and bands to go directly to their consumers, create their own fan base, share music on their terms, perform virtually, streaming live. Then, you know, major conglomerations like Warner, MGM, Sony, all the big dogs, as well as corporations like Live Nation, Ticketmaster, that have a lockdown on the major venues and the major bands and the ticket pricing. They are gouging the heck out of consumers, and unfortunately you guys are suffering. But fortunately, there are other options out there. YouTube's one of them, and that's why we are pushing our music directly to you guys. Hey, with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Let me know what your thoughts are. A lot to unpackage here. Very interesting stuff. Still a fan of Motley Crue, but, you know, do I want to go pay $2,000+ to go see them live? Probably no. That's a definite no. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat that. That is a no. But hey, let me know what you guys think about our music. We play live. We play no backing tracks. We play no click tracks. What you see is what you get. It's not always perfect, let me tell you, but it is fun. We try to do our best, and we will be playing near you hopefully in the near future. Anyways, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
It's 5 a.m. Here we go again. Another day and I'm right back in. I'm gonna lose if I hit the snooze, 'cause I know it keeps on playing.